Hello, and welcome to Hanratty on Karate. If you haven't noticed, well, I've been having a little bit of a summer vacation. Every year, my wife and I, we take a golf trip through the Rockies here in Canada. We go west out to the Kootenays and play a few games down in the mountain courses and out through Revelstoke and back to Calgary. It's a very enjoyable time. It's tempting to compare karate and golf because I love both. And both are very individualistic activities, if you like. Your achievements are your own. Nobody really cares what you score on golf. Doesn't matter what you say you do. They might admire a shot here and there, a putt here and there. But basically, you're not competing with anybody but yourself, which is very similar, of course, to your everyday training in karate, where you're always competing with yourself and you're trying to be better than you were the day before. The limitations are, of course, on age and fitness level and ability and, most important, mental attitude. And it's mental attitude that gets you through most recreation things, and most sports need a good mental attitude. Even team sports, you get the individuals that stand out in a team, and you get the people who just play for the team. It's not like that with golf unless you're playing like a best ball scenario or match play scenario, which is a whole different thing. In karate, it's all individual. Even if you're on a karate team, it's your individual fight. You're the only one out there on the mat. And particularly so in everyday training, you're the only one who knows if you're giving it everything you've got and you're attempting to get your form and your technique better, or if you're not. And I have this a lot. It gets quite frustrating at times in the dojo when you've got people and they're not trying enough. They just don't want to put the effort in, but they want to just show up. And I really start to lose patience with people who just want to show up and won't put the effort in. And it's hard sometimes to hold back and not criticize their attitude. Now, most of the time when I'm teaching students, I'm not criticizing them, I'm correcting them, and it's for their own good. Being critical of a technique or a person is not very productive, okay? But correction is, if they take correction, and if the criticism is constructive, then it's more corrective than criticism. So it's the same with golf. But basically, you're criticizing yourself, unless you're unlucky enough to get paired with somebody who fancies themselves as an expert. And you get this, and you get this in karate as well. I've had this where somebody is telling you everything you're doing wrong, but you're just trying your best to do it right and make a success of your shot or, whatever you're doing, or your technique. Now, I remember years ago when I first came over to Canada, I was looking for a club, and I couldn't find any JKA clubs here. JKA just wasn't heard of in Canada. They had a style called Chito-Ryu, which was run by Sensei Hanratty, Masami Soroka, who everybody put on a pedestal, but it wasn't Shotokan. Eventually, he did change over to Shotokan. At least that's what his students said. But when I came over, it was Chito-Ryu. And it definitely wasn't the level that I'd been used to. Coming from the Red Triangle and the KUGB, I was used to quite a high level of training and instruction. And what I was looking for was somebody to continue my instruction under. I didn't want to come and take over anything. I wanted to continue my instruction under. So I attended this class. I looked it up in the yellow pages. People had yellow pages then. For you younger guys, this was a printed book that told you all the businesses and business names and addresses. Nowadays, you can just Google it or go online and find it. But then we had yellow pages and white pages where everybody's name was in a phone book. So Googled, didn't Google it, looked in the yellow pages, for a karate club and found one. And it was downtown in Calgary. And I was looking for a senior guy to train under. And I remember going down there. It was in a YMCA building, which is no longer there. Beautiful gym in the YMCA. And I was looking through the kind of frosted glass windows. They had a square cut out in the door. I was looking through the door and watching what they were doing. It looked like an ordinary karate class, but I didn't think much of the stances and the techniques that were there. They had a black belt in front, an older guy, a little older than me. So I thought, okay, well, I'll just see what happens. So I asked if I could come in, and they said, yeah. And so I just put on a white belt, Putting on a white belt, I'd always been told you go to visit another club, you put on a white belt, it's a sign of respect. And I know in the Triangle, for example, and it was the same in Kirkdale and Terry O'Neill's club, Samurai. If you came in there with a black belt on, they all wanted to test you and see, if you deserved it. A lot of people had a hard time when they came into the Triangle as visitors with a black belt on. And the same in the Kirkdale club. There was guys there who'd they'd take you to pieces just to see, what you were made of. So I put a white belt on and immediately started getting instruction from a yellow belt and a green belt as to which way my stance was and where to stand. And these guys even tried to give me the correct terminology for some of the techniques. But in actual fact, it was quite funny. It was ludicrous. For a bow, they would say lay with an L rather than ray, which we all know. And when it came to sparring, the instructor was the funniest. I almost broke up laughing. He said, okay, pair up. It's time for kumaiti. And I'm looking, I'm going, what the hell, kumaiti? I realised he just didn't know how to say kumite. And this went on through almost all of the technique names and, block descriptions and everything else. He pronounced everything phonetically, so he'd obviously never heard a Japanese instructor use the terms. And it was quite funny to me, but what the hell, I got in there and I did it. But what amazed me was getting corrections from people. Now, I realised now, after many years I've realised it, that what they were doing was they were kind of like give themselves a sense of valuation, like they were trying to validate their own techniques by showing you how they thought it should be done. Now, it's quite arrogant in some ways, but it's understandable in other ways. From a psychological point of view, everybody wants to be validated, and they want validation for what they're doing, and whether it's self-validation or validation by others, that's just the way we're built. It feels better if somebody tells us we've done it right, and if you can explain it to somebody who isn't doing it right, basically what you're doing is you're explaining it to yourself, how it should be done in your mind. Okay, so I just took it all with a pinch of salt. So getting back to my golf game, the same thing happens, right? We paired up with another twosome, so my wife and I play as a couple, and we were at a couples tournament, so we paired up with another couple. And it's funny how people almost feel compelled to tell you, maybe one stand a little closer to the ball, or, your backswing's a little off, or you're cutting inside with your stroke and all this. Again, this is the self-validation. So I kind of take it all with a pinch of salt. I mean, when you're playing golf, it's you against the course. Actually, nobody else in the world cares how high or how low you score, unless you're a PGA professional, which I'm far from. Nobody cares. I could come off and say, oh, I did an 88. Or the other day I could come off and said it was 120. They'd all go, oh, never mind. Oh, that's good. Depending how high or low your figure was. It's almost the same with karate, except with karate, there's a backup, because if you're doing something and you have an instructor there, it's almost like getting lessons in golf, who's going to correct you, and his job is to try and make you better. So you're not just some Joe Blow off the street or in the dojo who's trying to gain some self-validation by explaining to you how he does it. This is a person who knows how to do it. And this is the value of karate over most sports. Most karate people, they'll drop out. And I've noticed over the years, and I've been doing this over 50 odd years, there's 3 stages I've found where people drop out. Usually, depending on the club, around about green belt, I get a lot of dropouts because I'm expecting that their grading standards are going to be a little higher, right? They may squeak through orange and yellow belt, orange belt, whatever. But when you get to green belt, I expect you to be looking like you know what you're doing, and your technique should look like a technique, not just waving your arms around. Okay, so I get a few dropouts at green belt, mostly people who fail the grades, to be honest with you. Then the next big dropout I get is around about brown belt, second kyu, because I expect people to know all the techniques by then, iron out all the little idiosyncrasies, get the technique right, making sure, things are supposed to go the way they are. The weapon that you're using actually looks like a weapon and not like a wet noodle being thrown at somebody. Okay. And I'm not looking for a lot of control from brown belts, but I am looking for a certain amount of power and spirit. Spirit to me will carry everything through. One of my favourite sayings was, a strong spirit carries a weak technique, and it always will. And it's the same in anything. You need a strong spirit. If your shots are going all over the place, calm down, get your mind straight, think about, what constitutes a good golf swing or what constitutes a good reverse punch, and away you go and you do it, you practice it. It's just a question of calming your mind down, getting the technique in your mind, going back to the basics and doing it, all right? You don't need anybody to tell you. But as I say, with karate, most people drop off about brown belt because the techniques do get a little harder. And what we're looking for around about then is a certain amount of power, certainly a lot more than you would be developing at green belt, purple belt stage, or I don't know how many Q grades people go through these days. It seems more and more. But we just do the old Q grade system in our club. We tend to stick to the traditional stuff. If I had my way, I would go white, green, brown, black. But people want different levels. They want to see a different level of progress every day. You can see a different level of progress every day. Nobody has to tie a belt on you for you to see your progress, okay? We often get people who are wearing brown belts, and even people that have come into the club from other clubs wearing black belts. And to be honest with you, I wouldn't give them a green belt. You tell them this to get all upset and that's it. But that's okay, that's the way I work. I always say, wear whatever belt you want. If you graded in your own club or style to a black belt, wear it if you like, but be prepared to back it up. Because as a shodan, nidan, sandan, whatever, you expected to have a lot more understanding than a brown belt and green belt. And I've got green belts there and I've got brown belts there that are going to take your head off if you don't, okay? Because they're going to be saying to themselves, this guy's supposed to be a black belt, let's have a look at him. Basically the same attitude you used to get if you went into the Triangle or Kirkdale, even Kirby, George Morrison's club. I'm sure he does the same thing. Hale Wood, I know, used to do the same thing. I trained with Chris Thomas up at Hale Wood a fair bit, and they were a tough crowd. And of course Kirkdale was a tough crowd, and so was Terry's club down on Victoria Street. They were all tough lads. And most clubs in the UK under the KUGB had the same kind of outlook, if you like, with regards to what grade you came in. If you came in with a black belt, you had to look like a black belt. And there was people there who would make sure that you looked like a black belt and that you deserved it. Frank Brennan, for one, if we got into a lineup on a Wednesday night and we had a visiting black belt, Frank would just use them as a kickback. And that's the way he did it. Basically, we'd often come off the floor at the Triangle and Frank would say, you know what, there's not many people can do that. And he was right. There isn't many people could do it. There isn't many people wanted to do it, but probably halfway through I didn't want to do it, but you did. You carried on. And this was spirit. There was amazing amounts of spirit in that club. The amazing amount of spirit in Kirkdale Club. I know I trained with Stevie Cattle a lot, and even came over to Canada and we had some cracking sessions. Got a great picture of Stevie punching me right in the mouth as well, and he's got his hand around my throat at the same time. It's just the attitude is a lot different, and I believe the attitude usually reflects the culture that surrounds you. If you come from a tough city, you're going to have tough sportsmen, and that's just the way it is. Can't be tough in golf, of course, but you can still get the same kind of spirit or mental attitude that will take you through and help you along with it. So comparisons between golf and karate, it's a personal thing. Both activities are personal. The same for most sports. If you're swimming, it's a personal thing. It's you and the water. If you're a 100-meter sprinter, it's you and the 100 meters. Nobody else is going to do it for you. And very often, if you're just doing it for your own enlightenment, your own enjoyment, your own personal gain, if you like, then you're the only one that cares. Nobody else in the world cares, right? I know as you go later on in life and you have achieved a few things, people will respect you for it, but they don't really care. And that's what I've found over the years. I've done a lot with karate. I've been chairman, I've been president and vice president of WUSCA. I was one of the founder members. I instructed at the Triangle, and I've ran my own club for 45 years and my own organisation in Canada for 40-odd years. The thing is, if I meet somebody at dinner or I meet somebody at the pub or somebody at the golf course, they don't know that. They don't know any of that, so it doesn't really matter. The only person it matters to is me. And what do I get out of it? I get the satisfaction of knowing that I tried my best in the activity that I chose on the journey that I went on by myself. I went on a journey and I completed it, and it did wonders for me all through my life. It still does. I still train, okay? Still train. I teach twice a week and I train. And I don't care what anybody else thinks. And the older you get, the less you care, all right? I got a load of stories about different people in different places, different instructors. Some of them put on pedestals and they say, oh, this guy was amazing. I've actually been there and met the person and trained with them in a lot of instances. And they're no better than anybody else as a person. Their ability is far better, is far greater than mine and a lot of other people. But as a person, they're not. And in some cases, they're just out and out liars as well. Not all the stuff that the people say that they did. And I can name a few instances. Some of them were real scallywags. Drive a cab around Liverpool long enough, you come across a lot of people who are scallywags and you know who they are. And they know who they are as well. But you get a reputation. People love to have a glory by association, if you know what I mean. Oh, I was under this guy, or I was under that. Oh, we talk for hours about this stuff, and this guy can really do the business and all that. Yeah, true. But you know what? Nobody cares, right? Do it for yourself. Do it for your own satisfaction. Validate everything you do for yourself. Build your own self-confidence. Be proud of what you do, and just keep doing it, because you'll get more satisfaction out of that than putting heroes on pedestals. Anyway, take care, and as usual, any questions, comments, criticism, let me know. Not that I'll answer you, but I probably will. Anyway, that's Hanratty on Karate. I'll talk to you again.